Okay, item number 4, and I guess we can ask questions, but one thing we could potentially do is approve these unless there's questions. One possible action, and Mr. Castillo and I have talked about this briefly, about the potential for putting some things on the consent agenda. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read all 4 of these because basically they're in the months, and then we can either make a decision to approve them all at once, or we can approve them individually. Does that sound right, Mayor, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Unaudited financials. Number 1, City Council will be presented the unaudited balance sheet year-to-date comparisons for the month ending September 30th, 2017. FY 2016-2017, City Council will consider approval of the unedited balance sheet year-to-date. Number 2, City Council will be presented an unedited balance sheet year-to-date comparisons for the month ending October 30th, 2017, FY 2017-2018. City Council will consider and approval of the unedited balance sheet year-to-date. Number 3, City Council will be presented unaudited balance sheet year-to-date comparisons for the month ending November 30th, 2017, FY 2017-2018. City Council will consider approval of the unedited balance sheet year-to-date.
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but I'd like to ensure that henceforth the terminology be accept. We can't approve it. We have to accept it or not accept it, but we can't approve it.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, City Council will be presented unedited balance sheet for the year-to-date comparisons for a month ending December 30th, 2017, FY 2017-2018. City Council will consider, and I'm just going to read it as it is, approval of unedited balance sheet year-to-date. No. Are you going to speak to us, or? Yes, I would. Yeah, just in case there's any questions, and if there's no, once we get through with that, we could potentially vote to approve all of them at once. Except, thank you.
Mayor and council members, the only objection I would have to what you just read, Mayor, is to clarify that the September 2017 number is subject to audit, and that we all remember that it will differentiate from the audit number that we hope to receive in March.
Are there questions?
I have several questions. Okay. One was back in November 27th. I remember my email. I asked to talk with you about financial stuff. You told me to talk to your supervisor. Your supervisor told me to he would get back with me. That was December 27th. Today's January 22nd. Can I get an appointment to meet with you? One of the things I'm really concerned about, well, I just need to get educated on a couple of things. And one has to do with the budget. And I realize the budget and the certified annual financial report, those are two different documents, and they're don't read the same way because one's kind of reverse. But I'd like to get educated on mainly the certified annual financial report. Can I get an appointment today? It's up to you, Mr. Steele. That's what I mean. Since 27th, can I get an appointment, please?
Just email us what date, and we'll make sure we get you on that schedule.
Thank you. Okay. Now, and I may have missed this in the minutes, but I try to get back to my notes, and I could be wrong. But we have an underpayment of sales tax to the state. If so, what are these numbers? Is that true? We underpaid and we had to pay some money back?
I wouldn't call it an underpayment. As the state of Texas goes through audits, there were 2 items with rack space in which double taxes were paid. This is one of the items that's not in the preliminary that we are currently discussing with our audit team.
Okay. About how much money are we talking about?
In total,
Yes, sir.
at this point, about 188,000.
About 188,000.
And that's divided between the general fund, the street fund, EDC, et cetera.
Yeah, I know it's. I couldn't figure it out. It's the one reason I want to talk. It's pretty complicated. So we don't have the September comparisons, right?
We have preliminary September comparisons. My fear is that since we will be receiving audited statements, hopefully in March, that we then spend too much time discussing differences versus the final numbers.
I mean, the council didn't get a copy of that, right?
I believe the council got a copy of it.
September?
And said, yes.
Okay, I got over 1,000 pages to read in 72 hours, so I'll have to relook at that. Thank you.
And may I interject here? We have not posted the preliminary September numbers on the internet yet. We had a discussion today whether we should post it or whether we should wait till the end of the audit.
Okay, and I'm going to get back to that in a little bit, but and you can help me. This is another thing I was going to do offline, but and we already talked about Gary Kane, but the bottom line is there was $200,000, a $200,000 CD that was placed in the IBC bank, and the district attorney basically said funds should remain at the IBC until the trial. The trial's a done deal. It's gone. It ain't happening. Where do I find that? Where is that $200,000 CD at, sir?
It's still at IBC. We, the city manager and I decided that we would not touch that money until the statute of limitations expired.
When does that expire?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the 2022.
Okay. Now, several people have talked today about transparency, and I know y'all made a decision today, but I'm just going to go with this. Just prior to the elections, most current check registers were May 2017. After about a week after the election, the check register was uploaded June, July, August, September, and October. This tells me that mid-November, October check registers were available to be uploaded. Seems that check registers could have been could be updated monthly rather than every several months. Is that true? Can we update those every month?
I've had a discussion with my staff we are going to set a date 10 days into the next month, i.e. the January ones will be posted by the 10th of February.
So we'll be doing it by the 10th every month,
Yes,
starting in February, sir?
yes.
Okay, thank you. That takes a lot off me. I'm going to hold on. I think I'm going to wait till a private conversation on this next one.
Okay.
Now I'm going to get a meeting. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Oh, one more thing. There's a new comptroller website, and you can get all this information. So, if you don't post it on there, it doesn't hide anything, didn't keep anything, because I can go on the comptroller's website and get it just as anybody else.
Sir, we have absolutely nothing to hide.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I've got 7 years of audits.
I'm not saying you're hiding. The only thing I'm saying is it's public information anyway.
I understand.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying anybody can get it. So to make a decision not to, it's on there anyway. I'm just for your information. You may not know it because
I'm very much aware of it.
Okay, well, it's posted there. Our sales tax looks like it's going down. I mean, our revenues from the sales are going down. Is that true?
If you take out the sales tax adjustment, they've declined about 2%.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. Overall revenues in 2017 declined 2% against budget.
Okay. All righty, and the other ones I can get with you offline. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so do I hear a motion that we accept the unedited balance sheets, unaudited balance sheets as noted in items 1, 2, 3, and 4?
I move that we accept the unaudited financial balance sheets for end of month September, October, November, December 2017.
I'd like to make an exception to September since that's in question, sir.
We still need to accept it at this point.
I'll second it.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. That's 3. All opposed? 3-1. That passes. Item number 5, presentation. I think Mr. Busby is here. We will get to you. So, City Council will receive a presentation from Walt Busby regarding the senior living campus and other economic development projects. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm here to give you a number 1 update, and I'd like to introduce Robert Kalunga, who's also an associate of mine in this development. I'm bringing up the date on this. Is it on? I need to speak into it. Oh, there. It's kind of like being a rock star. You get real close, I'm going to just give you current conditions. We've been moving along rather fast, and we're very lucky with where we are. We've completed the preliminary property due diligence, which means we've looked at all of the dirt that's around there, and we've satisfied ourselves that the title and everything is good. And we've also talked to the WCID about water, and we satisfied ourselves that there's water available for us. And we have sewer through SAW. We've also seen where that is on around our property. There's no internal sewer water on the property, so this just all goes around the outside of our 23 acres in total. We completed a detailed market study. It took a lot longer than we thought. It's 192 pages, and I've furnished the city manager with a copy. And I'm sure if you get really bored and you want to read at night, you can. But read just the first 10 pages. That's really where it's all about, because it came out very, very positive for the city, very positive for what's going on, and we're very happy to have that. We continue to work on the master plan for the property now that we have our market study. The market study really kind of gives us what's possible. So we have the independent living, assisted living and memory care building defined. We have the first phase of the over 55 apartments defined, and we have 36 cottages defined within the market study. So that would be the first phase of what we develop in this property. We're ready to get our cost estimates now. We're working with general contractors and the architects to get our numbers in line with taking them from budgeted numbers to more actual numbers, getting more granular in all the pieces that we're trying to put into the project, where it's going to be, how much it's going to cost, how much internal infrastructure we have to have, roadways, water, sewer, to connect these 3 initial buildings. We're ready to engage our architects, civil engineers, and landscape architects. We've already picked at least the civil engineers and the landscape architects. We're still looking at the other architects. We'll probably have different architects for different buildings. The assisted living and memory care building is almost like a hospital. It has its own certain requirements that the average guy might not know how to do, but we can find someone who builds apartments to do the rest, or builds houses to do the cottages. So those are the 3 we're trying to do. I want to go over some issues to overcome, and I think these issues have been brought up since I've been here. So I want to read you something that I've got from my investor group from Chicago, and I met a week ago with the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, Robert Kalunga, and myself to discuss these issues which were disturbing to our investors, and really wanted to get this out in the open and let everybody know where we stand on this. I'm going to read you what they sent me and asked me to do. We approach each of our developments based on 3 pillars: government support and leadership, reliable and favorable financing of debt and equity, and experienced development talent. Currently, government support and leadership is an area where we have identified concerns that cause us to stop and consider the impact on our development. When we approached the city last August, we found deep support and encouragement for our development, and we made the decision to contract for the land and begin our process. When we presented our project preliminary plan in November after the election, we again were overwhelmingly received by the mayor, council, and citizens in attendance. We think that support has remained strong. However, we have become aware of an undercurrent within the city that we feel has the potential to erode the trust between the citizens and the city council. This potential erosion of trust also destroys our third-party investors' confidence in the ability of the development to obtain city support for our development and consequently favorable financing terms from our investors. We believe city governments are tasked with providing leadership and establishing bonds and connections between all parties. Leadership is not about telling people what to do, it's about negotiating consensus and agreement on tough issues. The current recall effort to recall a majority of the council is one of those tough issues. The impact of that recall on the business community cannot be overstated. The change of the council in this way sends a chilling message to the business and development communities that representative government is not working. Our investors are very concerned. Hundreds of millions of dollars hang in the balance. We ask and we seek leadership from the mayor and council, enthusiastically supporting our development in order for our investors to move forward. Without this strong support, our efforts to bring this project forward are in jeopardy. I will entertain any questions from the council.
So you have my strong support, but the citizens, they make a decision. I work for the citizens. This is about the voters. And you have my total support. Ms. Berardi, I've talked to her. You have our total support. And our citizens, it's an issue with them. So I support my voters.
Well, thank you, Mr. Archuleta. I appreciate that.
Add something to it. So you're saying basically the uncertainty and the recall and all is in question by the investors. How much money are we talking about? 80 to 100 million?
Yes, our first phase is going to be right at 60 million. The total build out will be right at 80 to 100, depending on which buildings we end up developing over time.
That
First
could be in
phase is
jeopardy.
60.
It's already in jeopardy.
It is.
And, you know, I do appreciate, I'm not trying to tell anybody what they should and shouldn't do. I'm just trying to convey that there are ways for the council to show support of this without having to get into telling their citizens what they want to do. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that when I come in here with my guys from Chicago in the first part of February, that I'm going to get a real good feeling about where we are and where we're going. This is a challenging project, just like everything else in Windcrest. I mean, it's a challenging project. This is a big, big project, a big win for the city. It'd be an excellent project for the city. I think it's in the right place. I think the citizens feel like this is the right project for the city. So all I'm asking for is a real show of force and a real way that in the next 2 to 3 weeks when we start coming in here to talk about packages and things we need from the city, you know, that's when we'll know. That's when we'll know what we have and what we don't have. But right now, our guys are a little concerned about the noise. I think Lou Miller said it right, the noise that's going on. It's noisy. It's not civil, you know, and this used to be a great place. I've been involved in this since the Canes. I mean, I came and helped the city get out of their trouble with the Canes group. I helped them buy the note back from, or had a group buy the note back from Capital One. And that's 7 years ago. And it's always been a city that I've admired for its stability and its ability to listen to its citizens. That's very good. But what I don't like is what I'm seeing now with certain blogs and pseudo, what do you call them, press releases that have gotten around and gotten to me, and I've shared, I've sent them to my investors. They have to know this. They are terrible. This is not civil discourse. There's one T's and B. You can agree with somebody or disagree, but you need to be civil about it. And when you're not civil, that's what scares investors. That's what scares money people. Money people like to have things quiet, and they like to have things with a known path to where they're going. And that's what we're looking for. However it can be achieved, we're ready to work with you in every way we can. But we have to tell you right now, we're at a stopping point. And until we get that support to the level that we think we need, we're not going to go forward. So,
Okay,
The recall is obviously on the majority of the council.
correct. That's another problem. We've never seen, I've worked with 20 cities in my career. I'm 30-something years. I've never seen the majority of council members recalled. I don't even know if this is legally possible, but maybe it is. But it just sends a chilling message, because who's left? Who knows anything about my project?
let me just say, when we met, the discussion was, you're looking for support. I think that's what you said
Correct.
earlier, today also. There is no one that I have talked to who does not support this project. No one. So, and I need you to know that it is not tied. The support to this project is not tied to a recall. It's a separate issue. You have the clear support of the council now, and my sense is, even if the recall happened, you would still have the support. It would be inappropriate for anyone to try to affect a recall based on this project. This project should go forth. You have the 100% support from this council, and as I said, I haven't talked to anyone, no one, who has said they don't support this project. So, if that's what you're looking for, you have it.
Well, perhaps I could just ask that some of the noise that's out there, I mean, yes, everybody's got freedom of speech, but
Okay, and part of our conversation was also, whether I like it or not, I can't tell people what to do and what not to do. We had a discussion about some of the things, some of the nastiness that happens. Unfortunately, that's happened before in Windcrest. You can't stop people from putting information on Facebook or whatever. You can't stop it. So I don't want you to walk away thinking that that you don't have everything but 100% support for this project. And again, I have spoken to no one, and if someone is out there and they don't support this program, I would be more than happy to hear from them, and you and I can have a conversation about what that means. But no one has said we don't support this project.
Let me add something. Let me add something to that. I agree with what the mayor's saying, but if you've listened tonight, the majority of the people that stood up, the conversation was negative conversation. It was not nice conversation, and it had to do with the people sitting up here that are serving. If that goes back to your investors, they hear it, they know it. The recall is another one of those issues. Of course the recall will make a difference. If I'm an investor, I'm looking at that, and the investors, I presume, and the people that are going to stay in those particular areas and what they built are probably in my age group or maybe a little older or younger, whatever it is, and they want peace and I think serenity. When these type of things happen where we have a recall for whatever reason, I don't think that's showing support in the community. The support that we have to have that built, yes, but as an investor, I would definitely look at that because you get elderly people living in there. And I don't think they want to have the conflict.
Well, it just begs the question, if you start the recall on this, what's to keep the next group from recalling and the next group from recalling? It gets to a point where there is no stability, and, there are other places we can go.
Are you familiar with the fact that we've had a recall within the last couple of years?
Yes.
Okay, so somehow in that that history of events, your group decided to come here, knowing that we've had a recall. Okay, we've had some issues in the city of Windcrest with us versus them, but recall's not new. And you came here again. We should not be getting into a long conversation about recall because you came here to get the support of the council. You have it, and you have the support, I think. And as I said, if someone has a different opinion, I'd be more than happy to hear it. But you have the total support of this council, and from what I can tell, you have the total support of the community.
Well, that's really heartening, and I appreciate that. I did not mean to say that we were going to try to stop a recall. We can't. And I agree with you. The citizens have to be heard. That's what America's all about.
Well, one of the things that I just want to stress, the recall, and I know, and the people out there in the audience know, it's always this side or that side. And it's not going to stop. And until we unite and become a unit. Because right now, okay, they're trying to recall us. It's going to happen again. Somebody else is going to be recalled in 6 months. It's going to keep happening because we cannot unite and become a team. That is a city problem. And you're right. As an investor, I would be very reluctant. You can't say, well, just because. I wouldn't throw my money out there either. That's fine. My thing is, and the only reason I'm sitting up here is because of one individual that asked me to do it. And he's passed away now. It wasn't because of what I'm getting. You want $120? That's fine. There's a difference between progress and power. Some of us want power. Some of us want progress. And the way we go about getting it is going to make the difference. And I think right now, you either decide we can go. We can decide to either stay or go. Because and I know, as human nature, we all want revenge. That's bottom line.
Walt, I'd like to add to, excuse me, I haven't received one negative comment about the senior living facility. From what I've heard up here, from what I've heard from citizens, everybody's for it. But you and I can't tell the investors what they need to look at and how they need to consider it. They're going to look and decide for themselves. And I don't know it, but I feel sure. And it won't be me being a part of it. But if there's a recall, there'll be another one following it. I'd bet on that.
Well, I think what I came here tonight for is to hear just what I've heard, okay? And they're online. They're watching this in Chicago. So they wanted to hear all of you go on record and say this. It's all they have right now. And, I've known most of you, and, I've been here a long time, and I've done a lot of things, and we've never had any problems getting it done. We always find a way to get it done because the city really wants to get things done like this. And the 27 acres down on the other end, the last piece of the Kane property. So I'm willing to do whatever I need to do, but it was important for me to be able to come here, express this, and hear your expression back to me that I can tell my investors, because I can't just write them a memo and say I went to the meeting and that everything's okay, because they're just going to go, what? Who said what?
Does that mean that Mr. Wynn would lose his money too on the project, on the land that he sold? Well,
we haven't bought the project from him, so unfortunately, yes, if we don't go forward, Ms. Dabby and Mr. Wynn don't get to sell their property. But we're coming up on a critical path where we have to start paying money to keep that contract alive.
Yes.
So we want to be sure that we can now get in and start talking to you and have some serious negotiations regarding how this thing's going to lay out and what's really going to happen. And if I feel like I can get your support and we can have some good meetings and we can sit around a table and all figure this out, we'll get there. I'm very
you will find no roadblocks from the city of Windcrest.
Sir, and I'll leave
We
you
are
with
on board and we're ready to go.
Sir, and I'll leave you with this. Sir. My final comments. We're a divided city, but there's not one person in this city that won't work with you and do their very best to make this happen. But I want to leave this one comment with you. Government is a trust, and the officers of the government are trustees. And both the trust and the trustees are created for the benefit of the people. Henry Clay.
Let me
I totally
just add
agree.
something real quick. For all of us here that live in Windcrest, I've been here now over 30 years. This is the biggest thing that we have ever. And for whatever reason, if it goes sour, 80 to 100 million, besides maybe rack space, is the biggest thing that we've had. And I think everybody should think about it.
Well, I'm hoping it has the momentum, because that's what I think we can bring to here is the momentum to push this thing and get it going. It's going to be a signature project for the city, along with the rack space building and this and what goes on down on the 27 acres. It's going to define where Windcrest is as a real city, because not many of the cities, Garden Ridge, a lot of cities don't have this. They don't have the land, they don't have the population. You know, the demographics are excellent just within the city of Windcrest for what I'm trying to do. So I think it's the right place, the right time. I appreciate your comments, and I look forward to working with you on this, and I will certainly communicate this back to my investors tonight on my way back to home.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 2, the City Council will receive presentation by and discussion with the City Engineer's Financial Advisor Bond Counsel relating to the calling a May 5th, 2018 bond election to finance street improvements. Mr. Castillo.
Mayor, citizens of Windcrest, the next few items that are coming up are all related to the potential bond election of 2018 in reference to the what we called street CIP, capital improvement projects. And we have been in discussion. There's about 3 streets that have been in discussion in the past. We've talked about Mid-Crown, we've talked about Crestway, and we've talked about Eagle Crest Boulevard.
Eagle Crest Boulevard?
Well, it's 4 lanes, so I imagine I got to make sure we call it the right. And I do know that because it was on the ballot in November, we've been working diligently to try to bring forth substantial information so that the mayor and the council and the community can make some wise decisions on this. And been talking to Mr. Young here recently and everything, and we have provided you some information in there. Those numbers that you see there are kind of vague, but they do address some of those three streets that we've been discussing. And with all that said and done, I know that I have participated in a couple of these bond elections in the past. When I first took on city government back in, I think it was 97. We were going for a bond election on a Parks and Recreation project, and the election was in May, and I started working in January, and we were pushed so hard on trying to make this happen through the clock, and eventually it did get on the ballot, but it did not have enough support from the community for it to be successful. 2 years later, I was very fortunate that I participated in another bond election, but this was related to the school district. But before it became to the bond election, they had committees. They grouped individuals together. Like I said, I was in the city government, and I was part of that, and it was successful. Of course, 2 different type of bond elections. One had to do with quality of life, and the other one had to do with somewhat education and partial quality of life projects also. My comment to you all, and I think Mr. Young could probably elaborate on this, the numbers that we have showed you here, I guess, could probably use a little bit more fine tuning. And I would recommend to the mayor and the council that we establish the committees and do everything that I think are the essential tools to make some of these things successful. And that would also carry on to your investors, like the ones that we were discussing here a little while ago, to show that there is unity and you are moving forward and you're not making just spontaneous decisions as we go. And but at the same time, you would be listening to the voters that said put this on the ballot. It should give you ample time if you would move this to the November ballot. And that is my recommendation. I'm surprising everybody here, you know, the financial advisor, the bond counsel, everybody here by saying that. But I think that's something that might be taken into consideration. Now, it's up to you all to make the decisions here. I just wanted a few minutes to speak my mind and with my personal experiences, and y'all could take it from there.
Mr. Mayor, let me make a motion on this. I make a motion, and this is for the interest of the city, I believe. I make a motion to move the May 2018 bond election to November 2018 for the regular election in this city. Remember, the bond issue that was put on, it wasn't put on for us or those of us that are still here as council people. It was put out for the citizens to say yes or no, did you want a bond? We didn't say we want the bond. It was put on, if you recall, it was put on there to say, do you want a bond or don't you want a bond? It turned out to be 61 for, 38 against. I looked it up. I'm just saying, but we did not, we, being the current council people and whoever else was there, we didn't say we want a bond. We said, you know what? We're going to let the citizens decide. And we put it on there and said, do you or do you not? At this particular time, with everything that's going on, then my motion is to move it from the May bond election to the November election.
This is kind of a point of order. We haven't established a date for.
No, sir.
So there's no reason for a motion, I don't think.
I mean, that's y'all's
because
protocol.
we haven't made a motion to make an election in May, right?
That's
We haven't taken any action to have the bond election in May.
Yes, the attorney.
I'm not privy to your prior procedural elements, but normally when you're going to do a bond election, you have to call the election by ordinance. If you haven't passed an ordinance to call the election, then you haven't set it, but you can set a proposed target date and say we want to look at getting a bond election or something for this election date or that election date, and you move forward towards that with collecting data or advertising or whatever it is you want to do. And so if what was previously decided was, yes, you want a bond election, the next election is May, everyone kind of thought that was assumed, or if someone made a motion that it'd be on the May. But I think what Mr. Jacoby is saying is let's target November. That's a proper motion.
That's fine. I'm just saying that we don't need to undo something we haven't done. We have not set a date. The May thing came up because on the ballot,
yes,
it said, would you consider a bond? And it did say May.
Yeah.
Now, I know we weren't tied to that. Part of the reaction that we started was that is what the ballot said. The ballot said May.
That's correct.
But it was just my term, a straw vote. Would you consider? Didn't commit anybody to anything. So I guess my point is that there's no reason for a motion to move a May election that has not been set.
Well, if you look at number 2 under the presentation, does it not say bond council relating to calling a May 5th, 2018 bond election?
That's a presentation.
Yes.
And if you were to go to the resolutions and discuss an act, we would set a date for May. So I guess my point is that if we don't do those, basically resolution 1 through 3 and discuss and act 1 and 2, we haven't said anything. We just don't do those items.
That's
Right? That sound?
Is that on? All right. Procedurally, he's made a motion. It's on the floor. You can have discussion on whether or not it's valid or not, but you got to have a second before you actually
Okay.
go into that.
So okay, so let's restate the motion. The motion is to not do the May bond.
I think the motion was that you moved the date that is proposed
From May to November.
From May to November.
To November.
Yeah, I believe
Is there a
that is the
second?
motion.
that's just, I second it.
Okay, now.
Okay.
Now we have discussion. There is no May thing. We don't have anything in May.
Well, that's on the next. That's later on in the resolution. Now, technically, you could say we will bring that discussion up at that item, and when you come up to that item, his motion can actually adjust the item.
Move it
Right
to-
now, you're talking about a presentation. He made a motion regarding it. It can be moved to when you can either take that resolution item and move it up now and discuss it, or you can consider a vote on that motion when you're considering the resolution.
Let's bring it up.
Okay, so then what do we have to vote on the motion?
You have a motion in a second, so yeah, you got to vote on the motion.
Okay, so we're going to vote on a motion to move the May bond issue that really isn't a May bond issue until November. All those any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed?
I abstain.
Abstain. Okay, so let's just go to finish this item up then. Resolutions 1, 2, and 3 had to do with, well, I guess what we'll do is, at this point, we would probably just, since we're not going to do this, it would probably just die for lack of a motion, because no one's going to make a motion that we do this, because we're not going to do it. So, resolution number 1, the City Council will review and discuss, take action on a resolution number 2018-615R, resolution approving a proposal and agreement to provide bond counsel services for McCall, Parkhurst and Norton LLP for the Post Street improvement bond election, and authorize the city manager to execute said argument. Is there a motion? Hearing none, we'll go to the next one. The motion it dies for lack of a motion. Number 2, City Council will review, take action on resolution 2018-652R, resolution approving a proposal and agreement to provide financial advisory services for a proposed street improvement bond election, and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement. Is there a motion? Hearing none, it dies for lack of a motion. Number 3, City Council will review and discuss, take action on resolution number 2018-653R, resolution approving a proposal and agreement to provide engineering services for the proposed street improvement bond election, and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement. Is there a motion? Hearing none, it dies for lack of a motion. Go to discuss and act. Let's see. Discuss and act. Item number 1. City Council will review and discuss and take action on a draft ordinance for the calling of a 2018 bond election. Is there a motion? Dies for lack of a motion. Number 2, City Council will review and discuss and take action on calendar dates for 2018 street improvement bond elections. Special City Council meeting. Is there a motion? Hearing none, it dies for lack of a motion. So we have, I believe, handled that whole. Any other discussion? Okay.
I'd like to add, if I may, I know in the Citizens to be Heard, we had at least 2 speakers that very plainly said that they were against the bond. We also had one say that we don't have enough information. I have been accused of being for the bond. There is not one person in here, including my wife, that has ever heard me say, I am for the bond. I was for the people to decide. That's why it was on the last ballot. I think something of this importance should be decided by the people, not by 5 or 6 people up here. I have no problem with working through a city budget, with doing those things with routine, normal business, but when it comes to bonds, I think the citizens need their input through the ballot. And yes, I'm very familiar with what happens with petitions. I was in Austin when we went through that before myself. And I signed that petition. Not, in fact, Jesse Bagent and his wife that brought that petition wanted us to sign the petition, and I said, I don't know if the city needs a new city hall or not, but the people deserve the opportunity to vote.
Perfect. Thank you. I would say that, and again, I'm trying not to get off a task on item number 2 about this bond. There was no intention of anyone ever having a bond that was not voted on, and so the thought was to potentially do something because of May, and I understand where we're going. Okay, presentation number 3. I believe they're not here.
No, sir.
Okay, we're not going to go to 3. Item number 4. I'm sorry. Ordinances. Item number 1. City Council will discuss, take action, ordinance 2018-618FO, and ordinance amending the ordinance 6118B, enacted on February 1st, 2016, by changing the regular City Council meeting schedule. Mr. Shelton.
If I'm not mistaken, that's based on our city attorney's advice that due to that being a part of the petition, that we shouldn't take action on that one way or the other.
Not this.
No, number 1, you can take action
We're on number 1 about changing the ordinance to, if you remember, this was
That's for changing council meetings.
City Council had decided to go to one meeting a month.
You're going through the formalities on this one.
Sorry about that. I move that we pass this on the first reading to take action on ordinance number 2018-618F, an ordinance amending ordinance 618B, enacted February the 1st, 2016, by changing the regular city council meeting schedule to the third Monday of the month for the charter.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Discussion.
Yes, sir. This is the first reading.
That's correct.
Right? Okay. It takes 2 readings, right?
That's correct.
Okay. We're going to go to 1 meeting a month. So when we do an ordinance now, you can't do an ordinance in a month. It's going to take 2 months to do an ordinance now. That's not transparency to me. That's not doing due diligence to work. But do one this month. We're going to do one next month.
Is your microphone on? It is now.
Yes, this is the first reading. It takes 2 months. It's going to take us 2 months to do a reading now to get an ordinance passed. That's just no word for it. I really think that we only can pass an ordinance every 2 months. We need to have. It's just this is the first reading. Next one will be next month. Every time we do an ordinance, it'll take 2 months to pass an ordinance.
There is always the possibility of special council meetings. And when I came on this council, there was 1 meeting a month. That's all we had. However, they used to pass ordinances by reading it twice the same night.
Okay. Well, let me ask this to legal, because I'm not legal. Ever since I've been in Windcrest, they've had 2 meetings a month. And let me ask legal here. Can you do 2 readings in one night? Can you do a reading on a regular session, and then have a special session for a reading?
You used to be able to. I don't believe you can
I
anymore.
don't think you can do it no more, sir, by law.
No.
And so the way the statute has been changed, you have to have a reading on a separate date. Now, you can
A
have-
regular meeting, on a
well,
regular
It has
meeting.
to be a separate
You can
date.
go to the next day.
You can go to the
if
next
want
day.
Go
yes.
72 hours.
Yeah.
Oh.
We can't do it on a special meeting.
Yes, you can do it in a special meeting.
Okay.
It's just 2 readings that has to occur, and each
So we have
reading
to have
be on
a
separate date.
special, okay, you have to have a special meeting to do it.
You can do it the next day if you got to post them both at 72
Yeah,
hours.
you post them both.
one
So
and you
if
post
one on Thursday,
Right.
and then you post the
Yeah, you
agenda on
just post it the
Friday,
next day.
or the Monday and the Tuesday.
And we got a motion and second.
We do, and we're having discussion.
Yes.
And while I'm sure this is probably not going to happen, I can tell you we have 34 items, 34 items in on this agenda.
Let's hit it.
We have had 2 city council meetings a month for years. I visited several mayors in the area, and they have 2 city council meetings in a month. Going to one city council meeting will slow things down, and I don't think it's in the best interest of the of good order.
Let me mention something on that, Mayor, because when Mr. Sheldon and I were the minority council people and the other 3 people were the majority, those particular council people even suggested at that time to only have 1 council meeting a month. I recall it. It's on the video.
Okay, that's fine. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? It passes.